This is NBC News special coverage of the Democratic National Convention. Live from Chicago, here is Tom Llamas.
And tonight we are live from Chicago, night 2 of the Democratic National Convention getting underway right now. This evening is one of the most anticipated as former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama bring their star power to the main stage. You can see right behind me the arena is packed with thousands. The focus shifting to what the next 4 years could look like under Vice President Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Tonight's theme inside the United Center, as you can see, completely packed once again. A bold vision for America's future. Democrats drawing stark contrast between the two parties and what's at stake if former President Trump wins in November. In this hour, you'll see delegates casting their votes in a ceremonial roll call after virtually nominating Harris just two weeks ago. And we are told by the DNC it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. And it's all eyes on the Obamas as well, back in their hometown, hoping to fuel a surge of enthusiasm for the new Democratic ticket. The 44th president hoping to reignite the same energy as when he accepted the nomination back in 2008.
Change happens. Change happens because the American people demand it, because they rise up and insist on new ideas and new leadership, a new politics for a new time.
Then Senator Barack Obama running for the presidency back in 2008. The nation's first black president set to make a direct appeal to voters to elect the country's first black female president. And excitement building for First Lady Michelle Obama as well, who normally shies away from politics, going all in for Vice President Harris on the biggest week of her candidacy. The second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, slated to speak and share personal stories about his wife of 10 years. Another notable speaker in prime time, the governor of Illinois, J.D. Pritzker, one of the hosts of the event here at DNC. Notably missing from the DNC action, the vice president and her running mate, the two spending the evening in Milwaukee, not too far from Chicago at all, speaking at a rally in the same arena where former President Trump accepted the Republican nomination just a month ago. We're going to have more on that later in this broadcast. And breaking tonight, former President Trump saying he is open to appointing RFK Jr. to a role in his administration if he drops out after Kennedy's campaign signaled that they may throw their support behind Trump in this election. But something that might anger the former president this evening, his former supporters who have turned on him now taking part in this convention. The historic switch in the Democratic's presidential ticket triggering a significant shift in polling, especially for younger people. That voting bloc is on one Democrats are working to capitalize on. You see it right here. And one they're doing by giving TikTokers with millions of followers behind the scenes access to the convention. We'll speak with them just ahead. We have a lot to cover this evening. We're going to be covering everything that happens over the next several hours. We want to go right now to the stage to listen in right now.
I voted for Trump not once, not twice, but 3 times. You see, I work in construction. I work with my hands. He told us he'd look out for blue-collar workers. So I made my first ever political donation to Trump. And I donated to him many times throughout his presidency. But then I started to see Trump's tariff policy in action. Costs for construction workers like me were starting to soar. I realized Trump wasn't for me. He was for lining his own pockets. Now I'm not left-wing, period. But I believe our leaders should bring out the best in us, not the worst. That's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris. She's tough. She's going to tackle inflation.
Let's go to Senator Warnock right now.
I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
Okay, we've just been listening to a former Trump voter who's now supporting the Harris-Walz ticket. It was a surprise sort of guest and speaker. We weren't ready for that one, but that happens at the conventions. We have another surprise. This is a surprise that we welcome. Senator Raphael Warnock from the great state of Georgia here speaking to us right now on our hour of special coverage. So, Senator Warnock, you were here yesterday. What was it like to address the convention?
Listen, I can't even begin to adequately express the energy that you feel in this room. You know, I'm feeling it on the ground in Georgia and all across the country. And I have a word for all that energy is hope. People are feeling it, and we just got to keep this momentum going all the way through November.
Speaking of hope, we're going to hear from the Obamas.
Sure.
They gave hope to a lot of voters across this country when President Barack Obama ran in 2008. What do you expect to hear from him tonight?
Well, you know, Barack Obama is great, particularly in these kinds of settings. And it was 20 years ago this year that the country was introduced to him with that speech that he gave.
At the convention, I was there.
At the convention. And the rest is history. And so we're all looking forward to hearing from him. Look, one of the contrasts between our convention and what we saw a few weeks ago is that we've got a multi-generational team working together. You've got the elder statespersons of the party. Joe Biden, of course, was gracious as always yesterday. Such a class act. Even you had the grandson of Jimmy Carter, Jason Carter, a friend of mine. They are speaking on behalf of his grandfather. We'll hear from the Obamas tonight. We heard from Hillary Clinton last night. This is who we are. It's a big tent. And there's room for a lot of voices.
Senator, I want to pause our conversation for a second and go live to the debate, to the stage right now, I should say the convention stage. This is Stephanie Grisham. She worked directly with President Trump and former First Lady Melania Trump. She's now endorsing this ticket. Let's listen in.
Basement dwellers. On a hospital visit one time when people were dying in the ICU, he was mad that the cameras were not watching him. He has no empathy, no morals, and no fidelity to the truth. He used to tell me, it doesn't matter what you say, Stephanie. Say it enough and people will believe you. But it does matter. What you says matter. And what you don't say matters. On January 6th, I asked Melania if we could at least tweet that while peaceful protest is the right of every American, there's no place for lawlessness or violence. She replied with one word, no. I became the first senior staffer to resign that day. I couldn't be part of the insanity any longer. When I was press secretary, I got skewered for never holding a White House briefing. It's because, unlike my boss, I never wanted to stand at that podium and lie. Now here I am, behind a podium, advocating for a Democrat. And that's because I love my country more than my party. Kamala Harris tells the truth. She respects the American people, and she has my vote. Thank you.
Picking up our conversation here with Senator Warnock from the great state of Georgia. We were just listening to Stephanie Grisham, Senator. I worked with her. I knew her very well when I covered the Trump campaign and when she was in the White House as well. She's about as Republican as they come, and yet she's going to vote for the Harris-Walz ticket. Why do you think that was important to have that moment tonight here?
Listen, powerful words, and even more powerful when you consider the source. She's not a Democrat. This is somebody who worked directly for Donald Trump. But she said, you know, this election is about the character of the candidate. There are some things that transcend partisan politics. I will submit that not only is it about the character of the candidate in a real sense, it's about the character of the country.
Is this about trying to get voters maybe in the middle? It's going to be hard to peel away Republicans to vote for the vice president. It's a 50-50 country, I think, but there's those independent voters that are going to make or break this election. Hearing from people like this, do you think it might convince them?
Oh, I think so. Look, I have some experience with this in Georgia.
Yeah. A red state,
I was able to get folks who are independent, and I also routinely run into Republicans all the time who said that when they looked at the character of the two opponents, that the contrast was so stark that, yes, I'm a Republican, but I supported you. And I think that there are enough reasonable people in America who are thinking about the future of the country, especially in this moment when the democracy itself is at stake, when freedom is on the ballot. And you have a candidate who literally said to a group of Christians a few weeks ago, vote for me and you'll never have to vote again.
Right. No, I hear you. I want to put up on the screen for our viewers the recent poll numbers out of Georgia. And the poll numbers have been strange over the last year when it comes to the presidential race. They've kind of been all over the place. Where do you think the race stands right now? As we see right here, 46-50, 47-47, 48-48. Do you think Georgia's in play? You think Democrats need to be worried? You think Republicans need to be worried?
Georgia is in play. And I know a little bit about how to win Georgia. I've won Georgia twice. It will not be an easy race. It will be a tight race in Georgia. It's going to be a tight race in the country. That's why it's so very important for people to turn out. And if folks are watching us right now tonight, the thing I can say, the most important thing for you to do right now is to show up, to make sure that you use your voice and use your vote. Anything you do other than vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz means that Donald Trump gets just that much closer to the White House, and that's something that the country cannot bear.
I want to play a portion of your speech last night to this convention hall. It was on religion. You spoke about religion and faith and former President Trump. Let's take a listen to that.
I saw him holding the Bible and endorsing a Bible as if it needed his endorsement. He should try reading it.
To anyone listening who's struggling to start a family.
Sometimes in politics, it used to be said that religion was sort of off the table. You wouldn't attack someone for their religion. You're a man of faith. You're a pastor. I'll finish the question. Do you think it's fair to attack former President Trump over his religion and his faith, or do you think that you don't like the way he's been using it on the campaign trail?
The point I was making is that my faith is not a weapon. It's a bridge. And you should remember the context in which he was holding that Bible. He had literally just wiped protesters, peaceful protesters, off of the street. Yeah. And he used the Bible as some kind of shield and sword for his actions, which were undemocratic and I believe unrighteous. And so part of the job of the preacher is truth-telling. That's what I do every week. Yeah. And I don't like folks bearing false witness against my faith. And I stand in the strength of my faith. And by the way, for me, it's not the doctrines of my faith as a Christian necessarily. It's the values that I think are resonant in all the great faith traditions. And so what I'm calling us to is our higher calling.
Before we go, I think faith is important to voters. Religion is important to voters. You have a relationship with Vice President Harris. Have you talked to her about her faith? I know she grew up Hindu, Christian. She's married Jewish.
Not only have I talked with her, I've worshiped with her in my church.
What can you tell our viewers about her? Because it's an unknown for some voters.
She is a woman of faith, and I won't go into the detail. I'll let her speak for herself, and I'm sure she will. But I can tell you she's a woman of faith. I have worshiped with her in my church. And I'll tell you a funny story. Yeah. She came to visit my church early in the 2020 cycle, before I knew I'd be running for the Senate. And she was sitting next to me and my then 3-year-old daughter. And my daughter was restless. We were sitting in the pews because it was Youth Sunday. And my daughter was kicking her legs. She kicked a tear in the stockings or the pantyhose of the sitting senator who was running for president of the United States. Of course, I wanted to go under the pew. But she was very gracious. Yeah. And we had a big laugh out of it. And it was a wonderful day of worship. Kamala Harris is the real deal.
Senator Warnock, we thank you for your time. We thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
We're going to go down to the convention hall stage again. Speaking now, Gary Peters, the junior senator from Michigan. He's a Democratic Senate Campaign Committee chair, focused on keeping control of the upper chamber this fall. Let's listen in.
And let's be clear. If they win, working people like my friends here from the Teamsters will pay the price. Their Project 2025 agenda is the same old, gut overtime pay, cut healthcare programs, and give billions in tax breaks to billionaires. We cannot let that happen, and we will not let that happen. And now I want to introduce some retired Teamsters and pension warriors, led by Kenneth Stribling, president of the National United Committee to Protect Pensions.
I am Kenneth Stribling, a proud retired Teamster from Local 200 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I hope you don't mind, but I brought some friends. Pension warriors from the NUCPP. I found out in 2025 my monthly pension benefit was going to be reduced in half. Not long after that, my wife Beverly was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I didn't know how we were going to make it. So I went to a retirees meeting in the basement of a small church. At that moment, I knew we were not going to go down without a fight. Beverly made me promise never to quit until we made this right. So we organized a nationwide grassroots movement. For 6 years, we fought hard. And finally, we had a breakthrough. After 50 days in office, the Biden-Harris administration passed the American Rescue Plan, including the Butch-Lewis Act, to save our pensions and secure our retirement. They got it done without one single Republican vote in Congress. They saved over 1 million pensions, including 33,000 from my state, Wisconsin, 52,000 from Pennsylvania, 61,000 from Michigan. As president, I know Kamala Harris will have our backs. She will fight for our retirement, Social Security, and Medicare. Beverly passed away in 2019, but I kept my promise, because a promise is a promise is a promise. Thank you.
Inflated the price of life-saving medications, and millions of Americans have suffered as a result.
All right, let's get back down to the convention floor. Our Peter Alexander joins us live now. He's been talking to delegates and watching some of the action. Peter, I first want to ask you about that moment with Stephanie Grisham. It happened about maybe 15 minutes ago, but it was sort of strange. I don't know if when you were covering the Trump campaign and the Trump administration, if you ever thought you'd see her speaking at the DNC. She's about as Republican as it comes. It's got to be a play to also get under the former president's skin.
Yeah, Tom, I think you're exactly right. Having covered the campaign and, again, the White House, I interacted with Stephanie routinely. She was an early adopter of the MAGA movement there early on during the campaign, later becoming its press secretary, though she was never given the opportunity to hold a briefing, then its communications director. She said the breaking point for her was January 6th, but to see her on the stage is something I think that's going to get a bit under the skin of some of those members of the MAGA community who feel like she is using this megaphone in a way that they would like her to stop. The president himself has been critical of her. He's tried to distance himself with some, but you can't do that with someone who literally worked as your press secretary. Those words really resonated. I was struck by the loud ovation of Democrats in this room welcoming her to the party's celebration of Kamala Harris. Tom.
And then, Pete, I know you've been speaking to a lot of delegates out there. Are they excited for the Obamas tonight?
Well, there's a lot of excitement for the Obamas. We were just down in the Illinois delegation. This is a homecoming of sorts for President Obama. I've been speaking to sources close to him tonight. We expect him to sort of detail the task ahead for Democrats in these next 77 days to talk about the values that are at stake in this election. But there you got a little union yes from some friends. Tom, in the way that you can only do at a convention, you go from Northern Mariana Islands to Kansas in a matter of steps. I'm here with Gina Repass and the Kansas delegation of Democrats, as if they didn't speak for themselves, with the Patrick Mahomes gear in full effect today. So what does this mean for you to be a part of this effort and be a part of the Kamala Harris movement?
It is the most exciting thing that I have ever done in my lifetime. I am so excited.
Let me ask you, you brought in some jewels today. Can you show me what's this?
Well, this is a high school state championship ring. Much like Tim Walz, we are representing a high school team in Kansas who won their first ever state championship.
So to be very clear, anybody who thought this was one of many of the Super Bowl rings that now exist in the Kansas-Missouri border, not to worry, it is not that. Nonetheless, it is worth celebrating. We appreciate you guys, your union service, a lot of union members here as well, more than 80,000 union members. Obviously, they've been among those celebrating those union workers, Tom, we just saw a matter of moments ago.
Peter Alexander on the convention floor. Peter, we're going to be checking in with you throughout the broadcast. We thank you for that. For more on what's to come here at night 2 of the DNC, I want to bring in our political pros tonight. Chuck Todd, our chief political analyst here at NBC News. You just saw him. You'll see him again, I'm sure. Megan Hayes, former special assistant to President Biden. And Matt Gorman, the former senior communications advisor to the Tim Scott campaign. We thank you all for being here. Chuck, it's been nearly 8 years since President Obama came to one of these conventions, was nominated, took the political world by storm. Where's he been the last 8 years for Democrats? Last, 16, I should say.
Well, he really has had a lower profile. He did not, they did not want to follow the model of the Clintons, where they made, the global foundation and all of this. I am, perhaps when this library ever gets built here in Chicago, it could become an epicenter of something more. But it was pretty clear that he wanted to retreat a little bit. Public life. I think some of it had to do with when he left office, he still had his youngest in high school. So they were just like parents. They had to finish high school. But he's not played the role that many Democrats wanted him to play, which is be the leader of the party. He's not wanted to do that. People have wanted him to do that.
Do you know why?
It's interesting. He looks at it. The explanation I've gotten is, hey, had the party leaders spoken in 2007, Hillary Clinton would have been the nominee. They would have told a young Barack Obama, why don't you go wait your turn, go run for governor of Illinois, and we'll see you in 2012 or 2016. So if he wasn't going to take the advice of Grand Poobahs telling them when he should run and when it was his time, why should he be the one? He didn't want to be a hypocrite. So I get it. But you could argue that him not putting his hand on an heir apparent, letting basically the past, Clinton and Biden, fight it out over the last 2 cycles, he never designated an heir. And one wonders, would the party be in a different place had he done that?
Yeah.
Or really is the whole party just organized as a response to Donald Trump now? So Megan, that's a separate story.
I want to put up a survey from Gallup. This is from last year for our viewers here. It's basically on ex-presidents, right, and their popularity. John F. Kennedy, the top 90%. You have Ronald Reagan there, 69. Bush, 41, 66. Obama's at 63, right? My question to you is, he's going to be here tonight. The delegates and all the supporters and donors are excited to hear from him. Does he still have the juice that he had? Yeah? Tell our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's done incredible things. He has incredible business with Netflix. Does a ton of streaming shows that influence pop culture. It's interesting because he also resonates with youth, which is extremely important here and in this election. So, of course, he has the juice. Also, he was the first black president. The Democrats are incredibly proud of that, incredibly excited. And he also did a lot. And he also was the president to then Vice President Joe Biden. And I think that's meaningful in the moment in time we are right now.
Matt Gorman, do you think there is a President Donald Trump without a President Barack Obama? Because a lot of people say that the Tea Party, the way the Republican Party changed was because of the Obama presidency. Do you believe that?
I think you're right. I think just like the Obama presidency was a direct response in many respects to the Bush presidency, the Trump presidency was a response to the Obama presidency, right? I mean, Trump flirted with running in 2012 when Mitt Romney ended up winning the nomination and then ended up obviously running in 2016. I think there was absolutely a reaction to that. And look, I think one of the other things is to the point you guys were discussing, right? Obama still is very much a celebrity, and not just in politics, right? He's doing podcasts and books with Bruce Springsteen. He's producing Netflix series and specials and movies. So there is a cultural kind of celebrity to him. I think that will draw in the casual viewer and fan tonight.
All right, everybody. I do want to tell our viewers, Matt Gorman is an insane Bruce Springsteen fan. That's the only time I've ever heard him say anything positive about the Democrats. Chuck, I want to ask you, we're going to hear from Doug Emhoff, the second gentleman. Do we know enough about Doug Emhoff? I feel like I cover politics. I love politics. I don't know enough about him.
Tom, it's the speech I'm most intrigued about. I don't want to say looking forward to. I'm just curious. As a political reporter like yourself, I'm just very curious because we haven't heard him in that sort of setting. Look, I haven't been to fundraisers. I understand he's very popular on the trail, and the Biden-Harris White House loved, Emhoff was like the least controversial person. They could send him anywhere. Am I right? Like, everybody loved Doug. I'm very curious if that sort of energy that I heard that was almost like a at times, and I know you might rush back at me, at times when there was perceived tension between Biden and Harris, not with Doug. Everybody loves Doug. I think he, for me, just like the first time we heard from Michelle Obama at a convention in 08, the first time we heard from Melania, right? There are a lot of voters who are like, they're going to take a measure of Kamala Harris by their impression of her husband. Yeah. So it is an important, I might argue, it might be more important tonight. It might actually have more impact with some of these swing voters that might be tuning in than the Obama. You kind of know what the Obamas are going to say. None of us kind of know, and people want to get to know him. How does he connect with the personal side of Kamala? Because I think a lot of people don't yet, being vice president, you're the most famous person nobody knows. Right. You're an unknown famous person. It's a weird thing.
Megan, the programming here is a little strange. Explain to me what you think the thinking is, because the vice president is in Milwaukee, 2 hours, less than 2 hours from where we are. Similar media markets. She's going to be speaking as well at where former President Trump accepted his nomination. Is this about sort of dunking and trolling former President Trump, or is there actually a strategy here? Because it's a little confusing. I
think there's definitely a strategy, more to come. But I also think that this is a local media market play too. You need to hit all your local media markets. It's not just about networks.
But everyone's covering the convention, though.
But they're going to cover the convention, and then they're also going to say Kamala Harris was in Milwaukee today, and that's important in these markets. This is going to be one in the battleground states, and Wisconsin's a battleground.
Yeah, Matt, I want to turn to the debate that may or may not happen. I mean, right now both campaigns say it's going to happen. We've been getting reporting that Tulsi Gabbard is helping former President Trump. Do you believe this reporting? Is he really going to prepare for this debate? It seems like he did have a strategy, at least in the beginning, against President Biden in that last debate.
That was one of the underrated things from the last debate, right? Everybody talked about Joe Biden, rightly so. It was clear Donald Trump practiced and prepped more than he and his team had let on, right? Go to the abortion answer. It was very within the realm of what you might hear from a ton of the candidates in a debate. He was very careful, and I don't mean that in a negative way. So you're right. Whether it's Tulsi Gabbard, people have said he should talk to Nikki Haley as a debate kind of sparring partner. He needs to prep. He needs to be at his game with this, because it's very, very different than debating an 80-some-odd-year-old Joe Biden.
All right, Matt Gorman for us. Man, we appreciate all your help. As well, Chuck Todd, we'll see you right after this. All right, Tom. Still ahead tonight, our special coverage of the Democratic National Convention continues. We're just a few hours away from the Obamas taking the spotlight during night 2 of the DNC. What you can expect when they take the stage. Much more from Chicago when we come back.
They would give me an African name, Barack or Blessed, believing that in a tolerant America, your name is no barrier to success. With profound gratitude and great humility, I accept your nomination for President of the United States.
Joe was the last one in the room whenever I faced a big decision. He made me a better president, and he's got the character and the experience to make us a better country. And in my friend Kamala Harris, he's chosen an ideal partner who is more than prepared for the job.
All right, that was former President Obama. He's going to be headlining what's happening tonight. And we have a powerhouse of New York Democrats. We have the governor of the great state of New York, Kathy Hochul, here. But we also have your colleague, if you can believe this, live at the same time. Senator Chuck Schumer is down on the convention floor with our Mike Memoli. Mike, give us a quick update on what Senator Schumer's up to before we talk to Governor Hochul.
So, Senator, you're here with the Arizona delegation because we know one of the most critical Senate races this year is Arizona. How are you feeling about keeping the majority this year, especially now with Kamala Harris leading the ticket?
Really great. We're ahead in almost all our races. The contrast between Ruben Gallego, who's fighting for families, and somebody who's an extremist who's not even liked by most Republicans or many Republicans in Arizona, Kari Lake, is a metaphor for the whole Senate and for the country. The contrast between we Democrats fighting for families, working together with everybody, and the Republicans calling names, making up things, is It's glaring. That's why we're so optimistic.
This has been a very difficult period for the Democratic Party, obviously changing the top of the ticket the way it has. What has changed most in your eyes since Kamala Harris is now leading the ticket?
We have unity, we have strength, and we feel so strongly that she, as a great debater, will really be able to flummox Donald Trump. That's why he's afraid to even do the debates. He had to be pushed into it. He's afraid of her.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer joining us here. Now, obviously, this is a convention that's about the top of the ticket, but really down ballot, so important for Democrats as well. And this is
listen to this. Ruben Gallego.
Mike Memoli, we appreciate you. Mike Memoli, we appreciate you. Stand by for us. Governor Hochul, so great to have you here in person. When you look out at its convention floor, the party's come a long way in 3 weeks. Did you think it could get to this point?
Oh, this is extraordinary. It's electric out there. And people, especially young people, people who've had the very first experience here at a convention, this is like a rock concert. And people are so energized, and they can't wait to leave here after we nominate Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and take it to the streets. That's where we're going to win this election.
What do you hope to hear from the Obamas tonight? First with the former First Lady and later with President Obama.
They'll have an opportunity to remind Americans what the pre-Trump era was like. The world has vastly changed since Donald Trump became president. He took us to such a dark place. The civil discourse is almost non-existent. But the Obamas can remind people of that golden time when people worked together more. Yes, we've always had challenges. I was a member of Congress in the minority with Barack Obama, but he got the Affordable Care Act, which I knew, even representing the most Republican district in New York, was helping the most needy in my district. So he has a chance to remind people of those incredible accomplishments of what Democrats can do. And then he'll get out there on the campaign trail, help Kamala Harris get elected, and then onward to victory.
So I can hear you, but I can also hear this crowd behind us. I know you can. How do the Democrats maintain this type of energy and enthusiasm for the next 75 days?
That's a sprint. I mean, presidential elections take 2 years ordinarily. This is a brand new breath of fresh air, restart opportunity. So there's no challenge at all in carrying this all the way to November.
You're here, you're taking my questions, you're doing interviews all throughout this convention hall. Do you think that the Vice President Harris is going to start to do sit-down interviews? She's going to start to be asked questions by members of the media, maybe a news conference, just to have those unscripted moments for voters? Do you think they deserve that?
She's going to want to let people see who she really is, but give her a little break here. She just became the candidate. She is trying to get through this convention. This is really important to get this right, to set her off with a positive, strong start. There's plenty of time for the interviews. I'm sure she's going to let people know who she really is. But I'll tell you this, she's a fighter. She was the district attorney for a very large city, protecting the people and their businesses and their properties. She's a fighter in that respect. But also the attorney general from the largest state in the nation. That is a big job. No one should overlook that. On top of that, going to the United States Senate, and then from there, vice president. She has a great long history of public service and fighting for the people. She'll get that message out there.
Governor Hochul, we thank you for your time. We hope you have a great convention.
Thank you.
If you've been watching our coverage and listening to some of the noise, some of the action behind us, it's because they're getting ready for the roll call. If we can take some live pictures of what's happening right now. They've actually told all the delegates to sit down, to stay in their seats, because they want to get ready for this sort of historic roll call that we think is going to start in about 20 minutes or so. Right now, we're so lucky to have Andrea Mitchell, my colleague, who's been covering politics and the DNC for decades. I also want to bring in Mike Memoli, who's down on the floor for us as well. He's going to be part of this conversation. So, Andrea, I want to start with you. You've been covering former President Obama since he announced, I think, his candidacy for Senate in 2004 at that convention. What has President Obama been doing since he left office?
I mean, he's been doing a lot of things that are not involved in politics. He's, of course, worked on the foundation. That's the central core. Valerie Jarrett, his close aide and friend, is in charge of that, being built on the south side of Chicago. But they're also, both Obamas, the books, her 2 books outsold his. She's, of course, the biggest star, Michelle Obama. But 2 of them together, they've got all kinds of Netflix deals, documentaries, theatrical films. So they've been really busy and writing, and also through their foundation, advising younger generation politicians, and he's involved with Eric Holder in their attempt to make sure that elections are fair and not stolen.
Mike, you know, we talked about this yesterday. President Biden delivered that speech last night. He was the headliner. It went pretty late, but he was there, and the crowd was behind him every step of the way. He's no longer here. He's in Southern California. Talk to me about the relationship between the Obamas and President Biden, because they're not going to get that, at least Democrats and delegates here won't get that moment of the two of them on stage here in Chicago.
Well, this is a relationship that obviously has evolved over the last really 16 years since Barack Obama chose Joe Biden to be on the ticket with him. They forged a close partnership in the White House as a governing team, but then there was some tension that emerged in the second term, especially when President Biden, at the time, Vice President Biden, wanted to run in 2016, but he felt like he didn't have Obama's support as he and many of his allies were going to Hillary Clinton in her campaign. Now, since President Biden has been in the Oval Office, we've seen a bit of a rivalry, even some tension emerge between the two camps, as you've heard President Biden touting some of the legislative accomplishments, talking about himself as one of the most progressive, successful presidents in history. That seems to be putting himself ahead of Barack Obama. But allies to both men talk about the fact that they continue to work close partnership. President Obama has been there as a key validator for President Biden as he is trying to advance that legislation. He did also tweet supportive comments during the course of President Biden's efforts to stay as the nominee, of course, as well. And so this is a relationship that will continue even if we won't see President Biden here in the room tonight. I'm told by an Obama advisor that President Obama will give a hearty tribute to President Biden in his remarks here tonight as well.
Mike, while we have you down there, it's a very strange moment at this convention, and all these delegates and donors and Democrats are listening to the instructions. They've been basically told not to say anything and not to move. They're doing some type of photo. Is it like a massive selfie? What exactly is happening?
They're doing a panoramic photo of the entire convention. This is something that all the delegates will eventually get. It'll be a bit of a memento. Part of that photo will unfortunately be me gesturing in the way as I am here talking. A lot of people
you're the
looking
only guy
at me.
talking in the wall. It's crazy.
Feeling distracted by this, but that's just the nature of our job and having to keep at it while they're doing this.
Mike, you're a brave man because they've been tough down there on that convention floor.
It's kind of like doing a golf tournament, right?
You got to use the golf voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrea, talk to me. You know, it's interesting. I was at the RNC, and I can remember being at the RNC in 2016, and there was no President Bush, right? And President Bush isn't even discussed anymore. And then you think about President Obama, and I was talking to Chuck about this as well. I mean, he's been out of office for a while now, but he was such a force. But it feels like since he's left, all the conversation, all the oxygen has been about Trump. Has that surprised you, being a political reporter?
No, because George W. Bush really wanted to get back to the ranch. Laura Bush certainly wanted to get back to the ranch. Let me just tell you what he did that is durable and for which he gets enormous credit from people like Bono and the people I know in the healthcare world, international AIDS groups. He has, because he did PEPFAR, which was
you're talking about Bush.
Revolutionary. Yeah. George W. Bush created the money that saved 25 million people at least from HIV/AIDS in Africa. It has continued. It hasn't been funded as generously because of Republicans on the Hill right now, but it has enormous gratitude from all the world health people internationally, and it's perhaps his lasting legacy for all those who are critical of the Iraq War. They know that he saved lives in Africa, and it's a continuing legacy that he gets great credit for.
I guess my question was more, are you surprised that President Obama and his legacy has been largely absent in the discussions we've had over the last 8 years in politics?
First of all, Michelle Obama always disliked politics. We knew that. She didn't want him to run for president. And they wanted to do other things. They do love their time off now that they're empty nesters. He loves golf. They've always loved the Hollywood, the glamour. So I'm not really surprised, but he has great impact. Just one data point. Michelle and Barack Obama, when they endorsed Kamala Harris after Joe Biden stepped aside, that video had already instantly 117 million views. That's real impact in terms of American politics.
Andrea Mitchell, Mike Memoli, great to have you both here for this conversation. We're live tonight from Chicago, night 2 of the DNC kicking into high gear, the Harris campaign embracing social media influencers, hoping to capitalize on the millions of followers. We'll hear from TikTok stars on what their experience at the DNC has been like. Our special coverage continues. Stay with us.
Hand in hand,
that is that great patriotic jam, Living in America. DJ Cassidy spinning tonight here at the DNC on night 2. Welcome back to our coverage live from Chicago. Over the last 15 years, social media has become a critical battleground in presidential elections. But Vice President Harris's campaign has made her social media presence a centerpiece of her candidacy. The Harris team going on offense on TikTok, bolstering her credentials with young voters and taking jabs at the GOP ticket. The DNC also credentialing some 200 influencers for the convention, including Fidea Goplan and Nadia Okamoto, TikTok creators with more than 3 million followers each, massive followings. They've been online friends for years. I'm just learning that. That's very cool. They join us now for the first time here at the DNC. Did you guys ever meet before this or no?
We met for the first time yesterday.
How was that? Was that cool?
Oh, yeah. It was like I've known her forever.
So talk to me about this. You guys got the invitation to come here. Are you guys happy you're here? What have you learned? And do you think people will actually vote after seeing some of your content, which is an endorsement of the Harris-Walz ticket?
Yeah, I mean, extremely excited to be here. It's truly an honor. I was actually here in 2016 before I was a social media influencer. And I think for me, I'm not surprised that creators are credentialed. If anything, it feels like the obvious right thing to do if you're trying to mobilize the young vote. Obviously, this whole ticket depends on winning the young vote, and so why not have creators here?
And I think TikTok is a great platform, especially for the younger generation. That's how they're consuming news. That's how they're consuming media. So I think it's a great way to get them to get out and vote.
It is. So you guys have a huge responsibility, right? Because sometimes people think of social media as influencers showing fashion, what to buy, funny videos. But I mean, what you're talking about now can make a difference in the world. Does that weigh on you?
Well, so I never was a TikToker that just did fashion or otherwise. I started talking about periods. I mobilized around the tampon tax, around legislation, around advocacy, and I think that's a misconception around content creators. You know, a lot of us created platforms talking about our stories, being Americans, going through our daily life, whether it be exploring education or healthcare.
Right, there's a range. There's a range.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I would say, so I ran for office in 2017 before I was a TikToker, and for me, actually running for office convinced me I would never be a political candidate again, but also showed me the magic of social media, right? Because if you look at political candidates, they're raising lots of money to run political ads. They want to build brand awareness. We probably collectively have more impressions than some news outlets who are here, right?
Yeah.
And I don't say that out of competition.
It's fine.
I say that out of the goal of campaigns is to raise awareness, get the name out there, educate, and that's what we can do on our platform.
So is the campaign inviting you here and putting you up, or is it just the credentials?
They're giving us the credentials to be here. So,
but like hotels, they flew you here, that kind of thing. Is the whole thing?
No. So
it's basically like you're sort of a. I don't want to say a journalist because maybe you don't like that word, but you're here to cover the convention and put it on your feed.
Think of us just like another member of the media, right? We are media personalities, and just like a writer who might be here covering this event, we're doing the same thing, but we're doing so in a really visual, short-form content sort of way.
How do you make sure you're not being used by politicians? Because like one of the first rule of politics and covering politics is that a politician's first job in office usually is to get reelected. So how do you make sure that you're actually doing work that can help people and not being used by a political machine?
Well, look, I am first and foremost an American voter too, and for me, I think that I approach it more as here's a candidate and a ticket that I want to support. I proactively wanted to be here. It's not that they reached out to me. They're trying to use my platform. They're not, specifying deliverables or messaging. I haven't gotten a single messaging document. If anything, I'm here and I'm like, hey, I want to do everything I possibly can to use the platform that I have. I think it's an enormous responsibility to have this platform, and what do you do with it? And so, for me, I would say I don't feel used, but I'm also kind of like, use me, whatever I can do to be helpful.
Maybe you do want to be a part of the campaign.
Yes, I think it's I feel like
and you don't make any bones about it. You don't try to be objective and lie to your viewers. You're saying, listen, I'm going to vote for her, and this is why.
And I think that part of it is like, I believe in this campaign, what it stands for. I am someone who believes so strongly in reproductive rights, and I think that my platform is built off sharing that passion. And so social media is just a way that we're furthering ourselves to do that.
Why do you think people love Kamala Harris so much on places like TikTok? I mean, I know her laugh, the coconut tree, all these things took off and they blew up.
I think she just somehow reaches this younger audience using the trending sounds and using what kids are familiar with, right? This is what they're watching every day, and I think she really brings the younger audience in that way, which is so great.
It's interesting because it's the same social media team, I'm told, that was helping Biden out, but they're helping Harris out, and it's a completely different reaction. So I guess it's the person who's at the center of it, right?
But I think also at the same time, if you look at try to put it more in marketing speak, right? If you think about authenticity and sort of the ability to, you know, be in it with culture, right?
Yeah.
Like Biden trying to be brat is inauthentic, and asking him to try to speak to what brat is just going to be.
Can you explain that to our viewers? Because some people may have heard it, our younger viewers. I know our staffers have, but I mean, can you explain it to maybe some of our older viewers what the brat thing is?
So Kamala is brat, right?
Brat.
And brat is this kind of identity that was created by the musical artist Charlie XCX. If you've seen the Apple dance on TikTok, to actually a remix of the Coconut quote, but brat really, it's kind of like the next gen version of Paris Hilton's Sliving, right? So brat is completely authentic. We know the system, it has not worked for us in the past. We're going to define it for ourselves. The vibe of like, I'm going to make my own table, bring my people with me, and kind of defy the stereotypes and odds.
But she's been in politics for decades. She was an attorney general. I mean, she's part of the system. So how can she be brat and still be part of the system?
Because I think that she's worked within the system in a way that feels very much challenging it to be better and for the values that she really believes in, right? And so, and look, I fully believe that it helps to be in the system. I mean, to be able to be vice president, to be able to be our next president and be an amazing woman of color who has this authentic being around her, that is brat.
That's brat in definition.
I think people are incredibly successful on TikTok when they are themselves, when they're authentic.
Yeah.
Have you been here and have you questioned anything you've done as far as like, okay, I'm at a political convention now, this is different. I mean, do you have to act differently or are you just you?
I think for my platform, I focus a lot on beauty, lifestyle, kind of family content.
Yeah.
So I infuse politics in a lot of ways within my content. I don't primarily talk about politics. And so it's kind of a seamless process for me. I can just go about my day or do my vlogs and kind of infuse what I'm doing throughout the day.
What have you been doing here? Give me an example of one thing you did here.
Just, you know, taking footage of where I'm going and who I'm seeing and all the different events that I'm going to. And
how's the fashion down here at the DNC?
It's pretty good, but it could use some work too.
It could use some work too.
I think, again, think of us as just like an alternative new form of media, right? Like, just like
I know what you guys are. No, I get it. I get it. But I know that this is a new experience for a lot of you guys that are here that have these credentials, and you have a huge responsibility whether you know it or not, because if people are only getting their news from TikTok, then what you give them, it not only has to be right, it has to be sort of vetted in a way, because if not, it's propaganda.
But
maybe you're okay with that, but you should also realize what you're doing, because it's a huge responsibility.
But I think that that's also where there can be a symbiotic relationship, whether with the campaign or, you know, staffers here, right? Like, we had the chance to interview the DNC chair, and I think to be able to kind of have the freedom to say, hey, you can ask him whatever you want to ask him. And for me, I went up and I said, what is the DNC and what are we doing here, right? Because I think that for a lot of my viewers, they've never heard of this before.
Oh yeah,
right?
I agree.
And so I think that's where, like, it's not, to us, it's like coming in and education and just sharing our experiences. Yeah. So it's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity.
I want to thank you both so much. Thank you for coming out here. I do want to tell you, the Top Story staff, the producers behind the scenes, we're so excited for this segment because I think it's so important. I think it's important as well. And I think it's going to open up a whole new way to watch these conventions and experience them. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, thank you. I want to go down to the convention floor. We're about to do the roll call. And I want to bring in Kelly O'Donnell, one of our great correspondents who's down there on the floor covering this. Kelly, can you walk our viewers, give us the Cook's tour, if you can, of what's going to happen with this roll call? Because I know the Democrats are very excited about the way they're going to do this year.
Well, having just listened to your conversation, Tom, I think the roll call is intended to be brat this year. I'm a Gen Xer, so I probably have no authority to say that, but I think that's something they're attempting. And by that, what I mean is, in 2020, because of the COVID issue, they had to get creative about a roll call, and they used visual elements and went across the country to make it a television program and an experience that was different than decades of tradition here on a convention floor. This will be a combination of both the traditional way of doing it and some of those modern elements. It is ceremonial because in advance of the convention, the delegates voted for Kamala Harris to be their nominee in order to meet some of the ballot requirements around the country, specifically the state of Ohio, to make sure that their candidates would be printed on the ballot. But you'll see some of the traditional notes, and by that I mean it will start with Delaware. They go alphabetically, so Alabama hands off to Delaware, of course, President Biden's home state. And then the bookends will include California, Florida, Kamala Harris's home state, and also Governor Walz with Minnesota. So we'll have those key points as being celebrated in special ways. You'll also see some of the prominent people in the party whose states are in battlegrounds. So think of all the big governors who had been talked about as potential running mate candidates and are certainly prominent voices in the party. They'll be participating, and there will be different storytellers who will reflect different parts of what Democrats hope to see in this campaign and the issues and the concerns that they want to reflect. So they're looking to reach out broadly. They're looking to bring in different generations, and they're looking to make what has been a core part of traditional convention politics into this modern moment. We're all, of course, here. COVID is behind us, and so it's a mix of what they innovated in 2020 and putting a 2024 spin on it. Tom?
Before you go, usually when these things happen, they can be kind of fast. They're a whip around. They go all through the states. We saw it at the RNC. Do we have any idea how much longer this sort of interactive celebration of the roll call will be?
Well, as far as we know, it's going to dominate a big part of this evening, and they're just about to get going with it, and it will include that kind of stepping out and being here. So things happening in the room. You're hearing the cheers now with the words, "Are you ready?" So the roll call is about to begin, Tom, as we'll see this sort of innovation and not tradition to bring together delegates from all the states and the key battlegrounds getting those highlights for sure. Tom?
All right, Kelly O'Donnell, we thank you for that.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.